record button. And welcome to anybody who is watching this by a recording. I just said hi and a welcome and an introduction to our live students, as opposed to our any dead students, but the recording students, welcome. I'm Paul McLeod, the Minister of Education at Mount Calvary Baptist Church. And this, for everyone, this is our very first series, session in the series of the story. This is, I'm officially calling this session 0, since this is an introductory session. And I've entitled it, Getting Started, the Heart of the Story and Our Story. I'm really excited about this series. Of all the series that I get to do, get to be involved in and teach, be a part of, probably the story is probably my favorite for a couple of reasons. And for a couple of reasons, the first reason is this was actually the very first Bible study that I did back in 2016. Believe it or not, it's been that long since I joined Mount Calvary Baptist Church. I started in the fall of 2015. Very first Bible study was in January 2016. And I just had the time of my life, getting to know people, teaching Bible study, and a Bible study that I'm passionate about because it's what I call a fundamental type of Bible study. It's fundamental and foundational because it's the stories of the Bible, and it's what the Bible is all about, and everyone should have that foundation. And I get excited about that. I'm teaching Bible and being a Bible teacher. I'm like a kid in a candy store. Everybody knows that. So I'm really excited about this series. I'm going to go ahead and start. If you'll take a look at your screen, I'm going to put up a poll. I usually don't do this during the recording, but I'm going to go ahead and do things a little differently this time. And I've just launched on your screen what I call an icebreaker.
It's really it's very alarming, to be honest.
Oh.
So, but this is slightly alarming.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Don't nobody had a right to put their hands in my child.
If you would go ahead and put yourself on mute. I'm getting some noise.
Right.
And the icebreaker is did you participate in the story 2016?
I was gonna say, don't forget to call her.
Oh, girl, I sent her.
And I'm getting somebody maybe talking on the phone or something like that. I've muted one person, I think it is. But if you're talking on the phone or have a TV in the background, go ahead and put yourself on mute. The icebreaker. Did you participate in the story in 2016? Go ahead and choose and then hit submit. Different devices have different ways of doing this. So see if you can go ahead and figure it out. Whoa, I have 25 out of 25. Yay.
Yay.
Or actually there's 32 now. I got to look at my numbers here. We have 32 that have joined us. So I'll wait a couple seconds. If you've left the room, please come back. If you're talking on the phone, please participate. I just wanted to, and the reason I did this as an icebreaker is I'm very interested in how many people on Zoom here participated back in 2016 in the story. So just kind of curious about who's gone through this before. So I'll give you about 10 more seconds to go ahead and hit your choice. Make sure to hit the submit button. Now, how you do this on the phone, I have no idea if you have a smartphone. Otherwise, it should be pretty straightforward. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. Wow, how about that? Almost 50-50. Pretty close to 50-50. 53% of us have gone through it. 47% have not. So it looks like it's 50-50. Half the people have gone through it and half the people have not. Okay, that gives me an idea. That gives me an idea. Now, speaking to the ones that have gone through it before, it is going to be a little different. The book is the same, and I hope I made that clear in the announcements and so forth, and you will need your book today. And what I call the book is the larger book that has the story on the front. It's the thicker book. You will need that. So I call that the book. That has not changed. And let me be clear about one thing also. The story, this larger book, is not the Bible. Okay, it contains excerpts from the Bible, the New International Version, but it is not the Holy Bible. So, and then also you have the study guide. Now, the study guide has changed. If you're trying to use the participant guide from last time, you need to go by church and get another one. If you live out of town, I can go ahead and send you one, but you need this one that says study guide on the front of the on the front cover. It says study guide. So you will need those two books during our study this evening. So what we're going to do, well, talking again to the people that have gone through this before, it is going to be a little different emphasis. We are going to go through the whole Bible again. However, as I go through this, you're going to notice the emphasis changed just a little, and you'll pick up on that. Those that have not gone through it before, I want to invite you to just go ahead and get ready to do a lot of reading. If you're not a reader, my secret agenda here, my secret agenda is to turn you into a reader. If you're not a reader in your life yet, then I'll do everything I can to turn you into a reader, and it won't hurt that much, hopefully. But just get ready to do a lot of reading, and I want to encourage you to do a little each day. Yes, you can wait till the day before, and you can cram for it like you probably did in school, like you probably may have done it in previous Bible studies. But particularly in this Bible study, I want to encourage everyone to do a little bit each day. Go ahead and get in that habit. If you don't have a personal time with God, then this is a great opportunity to go ahead and establish that habit. But try to do a little bit each day. Now, what we're going to do during this session, which I call session 0, is I'm going to give you a little time to play with Zoom. I'm not sure how everybody is good with Zoom or not, but I'm going to point out a few things, get you familiar with Zoom. I'm going to spend some time also talking about why we're going through this. Why are we going through the whole Bible in this format, and what is the purpose of the story? Also, I'm going to talk about the flow of our Bible study sessions. What can you expect for us to do for the next 31 to 32 weeks? And by the way, yes, this is going to last all the way until May 11th of next year. Until May 11th of next year. I'll do my best to try to keep you excited about it. I'll try to do my best to cheerlead you on to going through it, but I think it's going to be really well worth the effort of going through the whole Bible. So we'll look at the flow of the Bible study sessions, and then I'll end up giving you a demonstration, if we have time, of how to access some of our online resources. Some of you have had a chance and have taken the opportunity to go and find our group website. In previous Bible studies, we have a different one this time, but there are resources online. There's an online directory where you can get contact information for your fellow Bible study members. And there are resources like documents and links, those types of things. It's very convenient online. So I'll go through that if we have time. Now, as I'm going through this particular session is going to be a little different in that I'm going to probably be doing most of the talking. I don't like to do that. Those that know me know that I like discussion, that I like back and forth, that I don't like to hear my voice that much and don't like to do most of the talking. However, this first introductory session, I'll probably do most of the talking because I want to get a lot of information into your hands, give you an idea of what's going on so that you feel comfortable during this Bible study series. So let's tackle our first subject is going to be Zoom. Our first subject is going to be Zoom. Now, I see a lot of familiar faces on here. However, some of us may not be as Zoom expert or Zoom skilled as others. So I want to give you a few minutes to ask questions about Zoom. I want to point out a few things, and for you to you can actually play with a few things. The first thing I want to point out is your view. Right now, I am highlighting myself, and I'm going to remove the spotlight. There we go. And one of two things probably happen to your screen. You either see a whole lot of people, which is called gallery view, or you see whoever is talking, which is called speaker view. And so if you want to switch between the two, you can do that. On most of the devices, you'll have to move your cursor or touch the screen or something. And in most devices, in the upper right-hand corner, there's something that's called view. If you click on that or touch on that, if you have a touch screen, then you'll see where it says speaker or gallery. And it even says full screen. You can go ahead and play with that at this time if you want to. Go ahead and try to toggle it, try to find that view button. If you're on a phone, it's a little different. You have to touch the screen, and then you have some choices. You'll see probably mute, you'll probably see video. I think you'll see a more button that you can push, and more options will come up for you. And so if you're on a phone, I'm not going to be that helpful because I don't have a lot of experience on a phone, but see if you can play with it. I think you may even could swipe. If you're on a phone, you can swipe left, swipe right, and play with it that way. I want to encourage you to go ahead and play with it. I don't think you can break anything. Worst case, you can end by mistake. And if you do have a question, let me say this. If you do have a question, it's hard for me to see everybody at once, so don't raise your hand. Just go ahead and speak up. Take yourself off of mute and say, hey, Paul, what about this, or a comment or a question. So go ahead and play with your view for a minute or two, and you can see how that works. Any questions around view? Not that I'm an expert. Okay. All right. The next thing I want to point out to you is, and let me go ahead and put myself back on spotlight. Then that way you won't be spotlighted if you speak. There we go. Everybody gets to look at me. Wow, great. All right, let me pull my notes back up here. The next thing is your screen name. If you notice that everybody has a screen name, and if you want to change your screen name, you can do that. It should be one of the functions. I think it's under the More menu. I'm not sure if you can do that on your phone. I haven't tried to do that. But if you don't have your name as the screen name, go ahead and see if you can change that. Go ahead and see if you can figure out how to rename yourself. I think the menu item is called rename. And one thing I'll encourage you to do and ask you to do is to have at least your first name on or as a screen name. I know if you're on an iPhone, if you're on a device like a smartphone, sometimes it'll just take your device name. It might say iPhone, or it might say Galaxy Tab A, or something like that, your device name. But I want to encourage you to go ahead and rename yourself each time, or to save it as a Zoom option. Some of you know how to do that. And the reason is, not everybody knows each other. There may be some unfamiliar names, and I want you to go ahead and learn some names and look around the screens and get to know some faces and some names. Also, it helps me in that I play back the recording and I see who's attended. and who has not attended. And if you attend, that's great. But if for some reason you're missing in action, 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, I like to send you a text or something like that. Go ahead and put yourself on mute if you would, please. I hear some background noise, somebody getting a call. It sounds like Mary's phone. No?
Paul,
Maybe not. Yes.
I don't see that rename on here. Where is it?
What device are you on?
Laptop.
Laptop.
I have
Okay.
a laptop also. I don't see it either. I mean, my name is correct, but I would like to know how to change it if I wanted to, but I don't see
Okay.
that option either.
All right. Let me go into my settings and make sure that that option is available to everybody. It's a possibility that I have not clicked on the right buttons and allowed you to rename yourself.
Hello, Mr. Paul.
Yes.
This is how you rename yourself. You go to participants, find your name on the participant list, and then click your name and you will see rename.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't have the opportunity.
You're welcome.
I don't have the opportunity to rename myself a lot, and I have some admin tools that are a little different from everyone. So just to repeat, if you go to participants, if you click on participants, then a participants area will open up on your screen. Find your name, and then if you click on your name or click on more or something like that, I believe she said, then you'll see where you can rename yourself.
Okay. Yeah. I see it. Okay. Oh, good. Thanks.
Now, someone also was trying to get my attention. I think the connection wasn't the best. Was somebody else trying to get my attention? Okay. All right. So you can play with that rename. And again, I suggest, or I'm asking at least your first name, if you can put on there. That would probably help out everybody. And as I was saying, I try to keep up with who's attended, who has not attended. And if you drop out for 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, then I try to, send you an email or text you, just wondering how you're doing, anything that you need. All right, the next thing, let's take a look at video and audio. You do have the option. You do have the option of muting yourself. If you, on most screens, it's in the lower left-hand corner, that you can mute yourself, and you can even stop your video. I'm going to encourage everyone, if possible, to go ahead and use their video, to go ahead and show their face. Sometimes you may not have the best face on that day or whatever, and we can definitely understand that, or you're multitasking and maybe it's not good for us to see you eating dinner or or talking on the phone or something like that. But I'll encourage you to go ahead and use your video as much as possible. I like seeing the faces, and other people like seeing your faces. And then again, there's mute. You can play with that button also. When we're doing discussions and things like that, if you don't have a lot of background noise going on, you can take yourself off of mute. That way it's easier to participate in a discussion. However, if your phone is going to ring, if you're going to be talking to someone, or you're in the habit of maybe even talking to yourself or someone that you're sharing a screen with, then of course put yourself on mute. Any questions about video or audio? And you can even play around with your video settings. There should be an up arrow next to stop video in your video options, and you can change your background. You can do all kinds of options, change your background, and put on sunglasses, video filters, I think they're called, visual filters and things like that. So you can play around with that also. All right, the next thing I want you to take a look at is reactions. Reactions. You should have a button there that says reactions. And you can clap, you can have a thumbs up, there's different emojis there. Go ahead and play with that and hit a few things, hit a few emojis that you see under your reactions. You can raise your hand. I'm not a big fan on raising hands. If you have something to say, you can certainly interrupt me. And to tell the truth, I don't pay too much attention to who's raising hands. It's kind of distracting, but hey, that's okay. But if you like something that is said, or you want to make some type of reaction, then feel free to do that. It's kind of a fun thing to do. Kind of keeps you engaged and kind of fun to do. You can even download some emojis, I think. I just put up on my screen a mad face. So go ahead and play with that. See if you can do it at least one time. See what's on there and play around with that. Oh, I see a lot of people doing some things. I think maybe next time I'll probably ask everyone, hey, how you feeling? Find an emoji. And that's what they're called, unless they've changed the name or I'm really wrong. Find an emoji that reflects your feelings today. And you can do a happy face, sad face. You can find something that is like your mood. Like if you're chilling, you can have sunglasses on, something like that. Okay. Now realize also that if you raise your hand, if you actually raise your hand, then it'll stay up there until you lower your hand. So you'll be standing up there the whole time with your hand raised. So if your hand is raised, go ahead and lower your hand. But if you want to talk, I guess some instructors would want you to raise your hand if they wanted you to talk. But for me, you can just go ahead and interrupt. I don't mind at all. All right, has everybody had a chance to play around with the emojis? Any questions on that? All right, the next thing is chatting. There should be a button there that says chat. If you press that, a chat screen will open up on part of your screen. And then you can say hi to everyone like I just did. And you have the option to have private chats. If you wanted to chat with just one person, what you could do is you see the two. If you click on where it says everyone under two, you'll see a list of names. You can choose who you want to chat with. And then you can send that person a chat. Now realize if you got a little private chat going on, if you want to address everyone, you're going to have to go back to that everyone option for everyone to see it. So right now, go into your chat and say hi to everybody. Put in a little message and say hi or hello. So see if you can go ahead and chat. Now, if you're on a cell phone, I have no idea how that works. I'm not sure if that's even an option. Does anybody know or have tried to do a chat with a cell phone?
I got one, but I don't know how to. I sent it to someone, but I didn't want to actually send it to that person, but I don't know how to get it back off now. So how do I go back and get it off of it since I hit somebody else's name? How do I change the names or to go back to everyone? Yeah,
I think you hit the name again.
Hit the name
probably.
again. Okay.
Hit the name again. It probably gives you a list, and somewhere on that list is everyone.
Okay.
Name everyone.
On the cell phone, you have to hit the 3 buttons and then hit more and then chat. And it pulls right up.
Right. I got that. I'm just trying to figure out how to. Okay, I got it. It did exactly what you said. I touched on the name again and it jumped back up to everyone. So I touched that.
So Denise, you were saying that you have to hit your name to get that option? works the same way? Does that sound right, Denise? Uh-oh, my smartphone.
I'm sorry.
Expert, no problem.
No, you hit everyone. When you go to more, you hit everyone,
okay.
and then the list comes up of everybody's names. And then
Okay.
you select the person you want to chat with. Like I just sent a hello to Miss Robinson. Hi, Miss
Okay.
Robinson.
Hey.
I can imagine all these side conversations going on now. I don't know if I should have pointed that out. I'll be doing some teaching or during the video, and you have all these side conversations going on. Still got to pay attention now. Still got to pay attention.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Denise. Thank you. All right. So has everybody had a chance to play with the chat? Okay. Any questions about the chat? The last thing I'm going to point out is how to leave. I don't want you to go ahead and leave now, but somewhere on your screen there's probably an end button, and it should be red. And if you press that, it'll probably ask you if you want to leave. You know, it'll do a check to see if you really want to leave. I wouldn't suggest that you do it now. I guess you could and then come back in. But anyway, that's how you leave. If for some reason you have to leave the session, go ahead and hit end and then leave session, and then you'll be gone. So those are the main things that I wanted to point out. I pointed out your view. I pointed out your screen name, video, audio and video, your reactions, your chat, and how to end. Are there any other questions or anything that anyone wants to point out about Zoom? All right.
Oh, Paul.
Yes.
Oh, when I try to type in my messages in, I don't see where it says send, or I don't see anything to send it.
Okay. You're on a phone?
No.
Ah, okay.
Laptop.
All
Just
right.
enter.
Hit enter, right.
Enter.
Did.
Still didn't
Yeah.
go.
If you type it and then you hit enter, it doesn't look like there's a button for that.
But Henry,
that-
we received yours. We received yours.
Oh, was that Henry?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, you got it, Henry? I guess he went back on mute. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
You got it?
I got you. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes, could someone please put in the ID and the password in the chat, please?
Ah. Let's see. I think
We
maybe
got on just by clicking the I will from the email or from the text, but then that doesn't give you the ID and the password.
Okay. Oh, let me tell you an easy way. The ID and the password was in your registration confirmation email.
Okay.
If for some reason you didn't register, go ahead and register. It'll send it to you by email. And if you did register and you did not receive an email confirmation note, look in your spam or your junk folder.
Okay, so it's the same thing every week. We don't have to get a new one.
No, it's the same thing every week, but it is
Same thing
different.
every week.
Right, but it is different from our last study.
Okay.
It is
Okay,
different from our last study.
Now I just put in the story and hit join, and I joined.
Yeah, you probably it saved it for you, probably.
I just click on attend from the email that you send us, attend online. I just click that every week, and that's how I get in. I never enter the password or user ID.
Linda, you spoiled my next topic.
Oops, I'm sorry.
It comes by email or by text. The confirmation came by email or text. Which?
Yeah. I get it by
For
email.
Registration certification.
Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. What I'm
I'm
doing
sorry.
now, if
I'm
you look
sorry,
at your
Carl.
screen, oh no, that's okay, Linda. I think in the last series, I think you did the same thing, but that's good.
Yeah, I did.
That's fine. That's fine. If you look at my screen, I've shown you this is my email confirmation for when I registered. No, I take that back. I take that back. It's the email reminder.
Right.
A couple of days, and here's why it's important to register. It gets your name in the system so that automatically a couple of days before the Bible study, you'll receive an email. And there's a couple things you can do with this email. The most important thing is that there's this attend online. That's a hyperlink. It's in blue. Most things online that are in blue and in emails, they're hyperlinked. So that if you put your cursor over it and click on it, or if you're on a phone or a touchscreen laptop or a computer, if you click on it, if you hit it, it'll take you right to the Zoom session, so that you don't have to mess with the IDs, you don't have to mess with the passwords and so forth. So if you look for that reminder, it'll remind you, hey, you got Bible study coming up, and you can find that a couple days later when it's time for Bible study. You can just click on it. The second thing this reminder does is an RSVP. And if you would each week, just to give me an idea of whether you're going to be here at the Bible study or not, you have three choices. I'll be there, I can't make it, or I'm not sure. If you click on that, that's all you have to do. You don't have to sign in. It'll take you to a screen saying, hey, thank you for letting us know, or something like that. It also gives you the option of signing in to the online web page, but you don't have to do that to make your RSVP register in the system. So again, a couple days before the Bible study, you should receive an email. Any questions about the reminder email or getting into the Zoom session?
Okay, we will get a reminder email before the session each week.
Right, a couple of days before.
And we let you know whether or not we are going to attend.
Right, you just click on one of those three buttons.
Okay.
Right. I don't know about anybody else, but email reminder is always good. It's always good to get a reminder in just in case. All right, wonderful. In the next Bible series, Linda, Russell, I'll put you on the agenda, and you'll explain that. Okay.
Explain what? What about
the email reminder and using the attend online?
That's fine.
You said, is that a paid job?
Yeah. Do I get paid for that?
Yes, twice as much as you get right now.
Oh wow! Gee, I can't wait.
All right. Any questions about Zoom at all? Anything before we dive into the purpose of the story? All right. Well, why in the world are we going back to the story, or why in the world would we want to do this to begin with? Well, from a bigger picture standpoint, let's think about, we just got through with the Bible story. I mean, the Bible series, study series called How We Got the Bible. And we learned that the Bible is very special. It's unlike any book or a collection of books in the world. It's actually God's word, most special book ever written. And if it is God's word, which we know it is, we should know what's in it. I mean, it really would be nice to know what's in the Bible, since it's so special. However, there is a problem with Bible literacy in the church. As I was doing some reading, I ran across an article from Christianity Today, which is a popular Christian magazine. And it's very good, and I'm going to put it in the resources section of our webpage, and I'll show you how to get to that later. But I want to read a couple of paragraphs to you about this particular topic. And it's called, well, the title of the story, one of the headlines is Bible Reading Drops During Social Distancing. So it has particularly to do with the pandemic that we're in, with the COVID virus. And this is an article from July 2020. So it's been over a year. It's been about a year, but I think this article hits some good points. Let me read a couple of paragraphs to you. Daily engagement has already been declining. It's talking about Bible engagement. Daily Bible engagement has already been declining, but worsened during the pandemic, according to the annual State of the Bible report. The COVID-19 pandemic is shifting Americans' Bible engagement, with many who are socially distanced from their spiritual communities turning to scripture less, and those who have lost loved ones to the virus reading it more. Did you catch that? Overall, most people during this social distancing time are reading the Bible less. However, if you've had a loved one pass because of the virus, those of you who have are turning to the Bible more. That's an interesting dynamic. But overall, in America, Bible engagement is going down. It is going down. The article goes on to say between early 2019 and 2020, the percentage of US adults who say they use the Bible daily dropped from 14% to 9%, according to the State of the Bible 2020 report released by the Barna Group and the American Bible Society. And here's a quote, faith communities have demonstrated incredible resilience, innovation, and empathy throughout the pandemic, end quote. And the ABS president and CEO, Robert Briggs, he said that. He goes on to say, quote, but this survey reveals that a big opportunity still remains for Christian organizations to make an impact on scripture engagement, end quote. In other words, we've responded fairly well as a church to what's going on in COVID. We've gotten digital, we've gone online, we've reached out, we've really tried to keep people engaged and keep ministering to people. However, we still have a big problem when it comes to Bible literacy in the United States. And I would say even if you look at the numbers just in the church. When you look at the numbers within the church, and you look at it racially, it's interesting. The article near the end says African Americans have the highest level of scripture engagement among racial groups in America. Another finding consistent with long-term trends. However, some 27% of, it goes on to say, some 27% of African Americans are Bible engaged. So in the United States, whether you're a believer or not a believer, whether you're a Christian or not Christian, they're saying that 27% of African Americans are Bible engaged, compared with 24% of Hispanics, 18% of Asians, and 17% of Anglos. So I thought that breakdown was pretty interesting. I thought that was kind of interesting. As African Americans, and I know that our church is predominantly African American, we are doing pretty well compared to other races in Bible engagement. However, if you look at it, 27% of all African Americans is not that many. And by the way, the long-term trend is downward. Fewer and fewer people are reading the Bible in the United States. So with all that said, and one of the reasons that I began when I got to Mount Calvary with the story is that we should get better in Bible literacy. We should know as Christians And as people who are reaching out to minister to other people and to equip other people, we should know the stories of the Bible. We should know what the Bible is all about. When someone says Daniel in the lion's den, we should know what that means. And we should know that that's in Judges. And that has to do with Daniel and how God, delivered him and showed himself strong on behalf of Daniel. When we say someone like the Apostle Paul, we should know that that's an apostle in the New Testament. And we should know those stories in Acts and how God grew his church exponentially in the early times in the church. Those basic stories we should know. Unfortunately, fewer and fewer people are going to Sunday school and hearing those stories. Did you find out about those stories first in Sunday school? I did. I remember Sunday school teachers telling these stories and how God, the main character, did these things and how he does those things today and how we can trust him and his son, Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, fewer and fewer people are going to Sunday school. So we're going to have to learn these stories and learn how to engage other people using stories. And that's what the story is all about. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly go through an overview of what the story is about. And it's just to give you an idea of what we're going to be covering. Let me click a few buttons here. And there we go. What you see on the screen is what's called a syllabus. It is it's just an overview, and that is not a syllabus. That is not. There we go. That's a little better. This is just a syllabus for those that are academically inclined. It's just an overview of a course. You can see it. I'll post this on our webpage. You can see their contact information if you need to get a hold of me. Our meeting times will be the same as the last series, 6 to 7:15. I will, by the way, I will open up the session at 5:30. I will continue to do that early if you want to come on and ask me questions about anything, about Zoom or about the Bible study, or in general, just Christian related or world related questions. Feel free to get on there, or if you want to pray or something like that, feel free to come on at 5:30 each Wednesday, and we will end at 7:15. And I will keep the session running for those that want to hang out, talk to each other, catch up. Or if you need, and let me suggest this while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to suggest and encourage you to get a reading buddy. Get someone who you can touch base with between Bible studies, between our sessions, at least once, and just say, hey, how's your reading going? Or what did you think about such and such? I had a question about this, or this really hit me. Can we talk about this? But get a reading buddy. If you get a reading buddy, you're gonna have a better chance of doing the reading, and you're going to be more engaged and with the Bible, and it's going to mean more to you. So I want to suggest that you get a reading buddy. If you already have a reading buddy, that's great, maybe from the last Bible study series. If you don't have a reading buddy, call someone up or text someone that you're comfortable with, or hang out after 7:15 and say, hey, I don't have a reading buddy. Who would like to be my reading buddy? So that's another way that you can just hang out after 7:15, and you can find a reading buddy. Now, the course description is basically this. In this 32-week study of the entire Bible, students will discover how their story fits into the greatest story ever told, God's story. Students will discover God's love for them and the extent that he will go to get them back. And that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to learn that the story is really two stories. There's a lower story and there's an upper story. The lower story is our everyday lives. The day-to-day, we go to work and we come home, we eat, we sleep, we go to church, we pray. Those types of activities, more on a human level, more on a horizontal level. That's what we call the lower story. The upper story is God's redemptive plan. Above our lives, above everything that we do, God is working out his redemptive plan, and he moves it forward each day. And as Christians, we should try to understand God's redemptive story and how we fit into the upper story. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And in that discovery, we find out how much God really does love us and the extent that he has gone and is going to get us back. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, as far as learning goals is concerned, my prayer, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this and what we're going to be focused on. And this may be just a little different from the last time that we went through this, but there are three things that I'm really praying about and I'm really hoping that we get. The first is to identify the 5 movements of the story. As we go through the story, we're going to notice that the Bible and the story of God's word is in 5 movements, almost like movements in an opera or a classical piece, or movements or settings in a novel. There are 5 distinct parts in this story. And so the second thing is that my prayer is that you're gonna be able to articulate a short statement that captures the heart of each of the 5 movements of the story. At the end of this 32 weeks, I want you to be so familiar with the story that I could go up to Margaret Harris, and I could go and say, tell me about the 3rd movement of the story. Well, the 3rd movement of the story is such and such, and it tells how God does this and how this and this story, and this is how, and this is the story. So you're going to be able to tell it to other people. You can tell it to your children, to your grandchildren. You can tell it to friends, to co-workers, and that's part of the gospel, is telling the story. And then the third thing, my third prayer, my third goal is that you'll be able to connect the things of God's story with your personal story. That at the end of this 32 weeks, you'll see how your life, your story, fits into God's redemptive plan, the upper story, and you'll have that perspective. So those are the 3 things that we're going to be really focusing on, and it's going to be driving everything that we do. And it'll become more and more clear as we go. And I'll mention these in each session. Your materials, you will need the Bible, the Holy Bible, and remember that the Bible is different than the story. The story book, the thicker book, that's different. You will need the story, of course, and then you'll need the story study guide, which is the thinner book, the brand new book. Don't try to use the book from the last time. Now, this is our first session, actually it's session 0. I just call it session 0, getting started. Next week, we'll jump right in to creation. We're starting right at Genesis. And we are going to take a look at Genesis chapters 1 through 9. And so in your reading, that's what you're going to be doing. As you can see, we're going to be doing this all the way down. Our first break is November the 24th. That's Thanksgiving. We will not have Bible study on Thanksgiving week. Then after that, our next break is in December. We'll have 3 weeks off for Christmas break. December 15th, 22nd, and 29th. Then we'll come back the new year. We actually got another break. So we'll have 4 weeks total. We'll have January the 5th off, and then we'll come back and we'll go all the way to March 16th. It's spring break. We will not have Bible study March 16th, but after March 16th, we go all the way to the end. Now, let me point out one thing. Let me point out something very special. This is the climax of the story. It's this line right here that I'm highlighting. is the climax of the story. I'll go ahead and bold it. The resurrection. I have it timed out so that when we hit session number 27, the resurrection, that's going to be Easter week. And that's the climax of our study session. And so we'll get to actually study the resurrection at the same time as Easter. And that'll be a very special week. We'll have some special things going on. So that is an overview of the story. Any questions about any of the things that I went over, the overview, anything that we're going to be doing? I see something in chat. Okay, thank you. A private message, okay. I just saw that. All right, you all don't need to know that. All right, any questions at all?
Okay, we can print this from the webpage.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and I'll tell you and show you if we have time this evening, if we have time. If we don't have time, then I'll make a few minutes next week to show you. And I'll also, in an email, each week, you can look forward to getting an email Thursday afternoon with a reminder about your personal time, your personal study. And it'll also have links to the webpage where you can get resources and to the recorded video session so that you can go back and watch it again, or if you missed it, you can watch it for the first time. So look for an email Thursday afternoon that'll have all your information. You can certainly take notes about what to do, for next time or your personal study time, but I'll remind you in an email on Thursday afternoons. Any other questions along those lines? All right, wonderful. Let me go over the flow of our Bible study sessions, just to give you an idea. If you can go ahead and mute yourself, someone's getting a phone call. Go ahead and mute yourself. If you would, go ahead and grab your study guide. The thinner book says the story on the front. In the upper left-hand corner, it says study guide. This guide is going to guide you basically into everything that you need to do during your personal time, during your personal study time. It'll even guide you into what pages to read out of the story. Let me point out a couple of things in this book. The first thing that I want to point out is on page 10. I'm sorry, not on page 10, on page 12. Page 12 of your study guide. And I'm not going to read all of this. And you can read this on your own, pages 12 to 14. But this gives you an overview of some of the things that I've been talking about already around the story. I will read that first paragraph, however. So the first paragraph on page 12, you can just listen to me, or you can follow along in the book. First paragraph says, before the rise of the printing press in the 16th century, stories were passed down orally. The older people in the community shared the important stories of their history, all the principles and values of life woven within these gripping narratives. They shared these stories with each other and with the next generation. It was a part of their culture, their lives. I don't know about you, but I remember growing up, going to family reunions, going to weddings, going to funerals, and hearing different stories about my family. My uncle would tell the same stories over and over each family reunion. And I wondered why he did that. I wondered why he told the same stories over and over. I didn't know it at the time, but he was telling the story about our family so that we would know it and we could pass it on. Well, long time ago, before a lot of reading and writing, that's how they told history. In the second paragraph, it says, for the past few centuries, though, our communication primarily has been written. people sitting alone with a book open on their lap. Now, however, with the explosive rise of technology, TV, movies, YouTube, and other visual communication tools, the world is returning to pictures and stories. We are once again becoming an oral culture. Indeed, many people learn best by hearing and telling stories. As much as I like to read, and as much as I'm going to try to turn you into a reader, I realize that we are basically in a digital age, and that if you can't put it in a video, if you can't show it in a commercial, if you can't just tell a short story without reading something, that we basically lose a lot of people. If Bible studies were solely dependent on you reading something, I think half of us would probably not even attend Bible studies. And that's just a generalization. Maybe it's not a fair one, but we are in a digital culture. We depend on a lot of times videos and things like that. We're not a lot of readers. However, the story is going to help us to tell the story. And that's the emphasis that I want to make in this last paragraph on page 12. The fourth paragraph says, with this in mind, we desire to capture this ancient/modern form of oral communication and weave it into your experience of the story. To accomplish this, we have come up with 5 icons to help you, to help as you hear and tell the story. These simple pictures will put an image in your mind to help you remember the movements of God's story. They will also help you tell your own story. Here are the images and the portion or movement of the story that they represent. And you can see in that chart that there are 5 movements in the story. There's the story of the garden that's primarily told in Genesis. There's the story of Israel in Genesis 12 through Malachi. There's the story of Jesus. There's the story of the church and the story of the new garden. If you keep those in mind, and in fact, over the next few weeks, we're going to be kind of drilling ourselves so that we remember this. But if you keep those in mind and someone asks you, hey, what is the Bible all about? After this 32 weeks, you'll be able to tell them. You'll be able to tell them about the beginning of creation in the garden, and how God created Israel as his people, and how Jesus came to make us his people and is searching for us, and the story of the church, and then the story of the new garden, the new creation at the end of time. And so this is a way, it's a framework of helping you to understand the story, understanding the Bible and God's redemptive plan, and also it'll help you to tell the story to people in your family, to your friends, people that need to hear about the good news. Well, the rest of this, 12 through 14, I'm going to let you read that on your own as part of your personal time. And that'll give you an overview of those 5 movements. And I realize that, and let me make this comment just real quick before I go on to a kind of a different topic. I realize that all of us are at different levels. All of us are at different stages in our spiritual growth. Some of us, the Bible is new, and maybe we haven't read any of it. Maybe we're picking up the Bible for the first time, and maybe have some questions about it. Some of us have been working with the Bible, reading the Bible all of our lives. Some of us know the books of the Bible by heart, know every story backwards and forwards. And it's just been around the Bible for more years than we can count. And a lot of us are in between, just starting and very familiar with the Bible. No matter where you are, don't feel that you have nothing to learn, and also don't feel overwhelmed that there's a lot to learn. This is a lifelong journey. My suggestion to you and my encouragement to you is to dive in. Even if you've heard a story 1,000,000 times, dive into it like you haven't seen it before, and try to put it in place in the context of God's redemptive plan, and see how it hooks together. And if you're hearing these stories for the first time, then this is God's story, and this is especially for you. And I want to encourage you to keep on going in the story, and keep on going in the Bible. So I'll let you read that on your own in your personal time. And in fact, speaking of personal time, if you'll take a look at page 15, this Bible story is going to be a little different than the last one. In the last one, you came into the Bible study cold. There was no homework. There was no preparation. We went through our session, and then you deepened your study throughout the week after the Bible study. In this Bible study, we're going to turn that around. Your personal time is going to be prep time for the upcoming session. For example, in the coming week, you're going to be doing some reading. You're going to be doing some things here in the book in preparation for next Wednesday. So you have homework to do, you have personal time, you have preparatory time that you're going to have to do. Now, exactly how are you going to do that? Well, starting on page 15, you see where it says you have the title and you have a timeline. Let me point this out, and this is kind of neat. I love this format, and I'll show you where this timeline is in the storybook also. You can see a timeline there on page 15 in the middle of the page. This gives you an idea of, on the timeline of history, where this fits. And this is really good for getting in your mind. We're going to be talking about the beginning of creation, Noah and the flood, and Abraham is born around 2166 BC. So that gives you an idea of the time frame and history of what we're talking about. So all those that love history, all those who are detail oriented, all those that like to really get into maybe some of the more academics, you can keep track of exactly the time frames and the times and the dates of what we're talking about. So on page 15, you can see where it says personal time. That's your prep time to get ready for the upcoming Bible study. And so you can see that on page 15. And then on page 16, if you turn the page, part of your personal time is you're going to take a little pre-quiz. Boy, do I love this. Do I love this format? Those of you who know me know that I love maybe little quizzes, little tests, what I call, I can't remember my euphemism for it, but it's an engaging review. I guess you can call it that. But on page 16, you see where it says, know the story. And you can read the instructions there. It says, before reading chapter 1 of the story, talking about the big book, answer the questions below to test your knowledge of this week's scripture. Enter your answers in the column marked first time. So what you're going to do is you're going to take kind of a pre-quiz, answer those questions cold, put the answers in the first time column. And then later on, after your reading, it's going to tell you to take the quiz again and see how you compared in your knowledge to the first time. So you can see how you learned. Maybe you didn't know a lot about these stories before, and then at the end, you take the quiz again, and you can see what you've learned. I love that format. I really love that format. You can actually see what you're learning. So you'll know the story on page 14. On page 16. You'll understand the story on page 17. You have some things that you're going to read and some things you're going to write. And then on page 18, you're going to live the story. And you're going to take action. That is your application part. Now let me emphasize this. Learning the Bible, learning the books of the Bible, learning the stories, all those things are great. But if you don't apply it to your life, if you don't let God apply it to your life, you don't take that opportunity, it's for nothing. It really is. And in fact, it can be harmful. learning the stories, learning the books of the Bible, learning all these scriptures and verses and things like that, and you don't apply it to your life, there is a danger of pride. There's a danger of, oh, I know all these verses, I know all these stories, I can tell you the 5 movements of the story front and back, I can tell you the whole redemptive plan, but if you don't apply it to your life and make it real, then you're just a sounding cymbal, you're a tinkling bell, as Corinthians would say, if you don't have love. But if you don't apply it to your life, then it really is a waste of time, because it's not doing you any good, and it's not doing the people around you any good, because God wants to use you to tell the story. So I want to emphasize that it's very important to go ahead and live the story on page 18. And then lastly, on page 19 is tell the story. That's going to be part of your prep time. So in all, what you're going to do this coming week, and I'll say this again in my email, but what you're going to do is this coming week, you're going to read pages 12 through 14 as introductory. And then you're going to do your personal time, pages 15 to pages 19. So you're basically going to be reading pages 12 through 19. And incorporated in there, it's going to tell you to read the first chapter of the story. It'll tell you exactly, you follow the instructions, it'll tell you exactly when to read the first chapter of the story. And that's what we're going to be doing. And I'm doing this, by the way, I'm doing this with you. This study guide is completely new to me. And I'll be going through the story just like you. So I'll have some aha moments. I'll have some questions. And so I'm going through this right with you. Any questions around, oh, before I forget, this may be a question, in fact, how long does this take? It probably takes about an hour. If you sat down and go through everything, it'll probably take you about an hour to do it. I would encourage you, however, to break it up. Do it a little every day, or do it a little over 2 or 3 or 4 days, maybe 10, 15 minutes a day. It is what it's going to take. Some people it's going to take maybe more than an hour. Some people it may take less than an hour. But if you budget your time, and as I said before, if you don't have a personal time with God, if you don't have a devotional time, this is a good opportunity to go ahead and develop one. Take 10, 15 minutes out of your day, whether it's in the morning, during the day, maybe it's in the evening, whatever is best for you, and go ahead and do it. If you already have a personal time with God, a devotional time, then work this in. Or carve out some time, 10 or 15 minutes maybe, to work this into your devotional time, or maybe it's separate from your devotional time. Whatever works for you is basically what I want to say. Whatever works for you. If you need some ideas around devotions, if you need some help with it, then give me a call, text me, email me. We can get together and talk about that. That would be a great subject to talk to with your reading buddy also. Again, I'm suggesting, I'm encouraging you to have a reading buddy, someone that you talk with between sessions, so that you can be encouraged in your reading and kind of check up on you, see how you're doing on your reading and your devotion time and so forth. So any questions around your personal time or what we'll be doing in between sessions? Any questions at all? All right. Okay, looking at our top. Yes, please. Yes.
I have a question. Are we just going to use the NIV Bible?
The story is in NIV format. So the reading out of the story is, yes, in the New International Version. You can certainly read along with it in a different version. In fact, let me point you in the study guide. If you'll turn in your study guide to, no, I'm sorry, in the story, in the larger book, if you'll grab your larger book in the story, if you'll look in the back, and in the back on page 494, there is a chart of references. All of your reading that you're going to be having, that you're going to be doing is going to be lifted right out of the Bible. And this chart of references tells you where it's coming from. For example, in our reading this coming week, we're going to be reading Genesis chapters 1 through 4 and chapters 6 through 9. And so if you want to read it in a different format, a different translation, feel free. You can certainly do that in the Holy Bible. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions? All right, looking at our time, I'm 1 minute over. I promise that I'll do better on the ending times and get you out as close to 7:15 as possible. Next week, I'll carve out just a few minutes to show you how you can access resources online. I'll put those instructions also in the email that you'll get tomorrow afternoon. And so that you can go through those instructions and go ahead and do it on your own. If you have a question, you don't have to wait until next week. You can reach out to me by text or email or call me, and I can step you through that. So don't think that you can't contact me in between sessions. So just to wrap this whole thing up, I'm really excited about this study of the story. I'm excited about what you all think about it, how it impacts your life, and I'm really excited about it. So your personal time again is pages 12 through 19 in your study guide. If you have any questions, certainly feel free to contact me. And if you will hold on for just a minute for the live audience, I'm going to say goodbye to our recording audience, and our students. Thank you so much for watching this again or watching it for the first time. And if you have any questions, you can certainly get a hold of me like the live students. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.